This is James Dutton for Round 8 Boxing. Delighted to be joined with Nick Campbell. Nick, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good man. Thank you. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very good. We're going to talk about Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk 2. Obviously, you've shared a few rounds with Tyson Fury, so you know him pretty well. But also, we've seen the first fight and how that went, and it was very, very close. In terms of the first fight and the rematch, can we really look into the first fight and see what's going to happen in the rematch, or is it still really 50-50 again?
Yeah, I think it's still 50-50. I think for large portions of the first fight, Tyson was on top. Kind of just, I'd say Usyk started getting to him from round eight. He obviously had that big round nine, and then he kind of drove it home in the back stretch. So there wasn't much in it. I'd say the difference was that round eight and nine that really swung it in Usyk's favour. Other than that, I'd say it was a really 50-50 fight. So I think it's all to play for, 50-50 fight. And I think Tyson can do it this time if he goes with the right game plan and stays concentrated for the full 12 rounds.
Is there anything that Tyson needs to do differently to the first fight, in your opinion?
Nah, well, of course, yeah. Like he needs to. I think it was just a wee bit of lack of concentration. I think he had so much success early on that he kind of get. I don't want to say complacent, but he maybe get a wee bit comfortable, and that allowed Usyk to kind of creep back into the fight, and then down the latter stretch, Usyk came on strong. So I think it would be just staying focused for the entire 12 rounds, especially in that middle period where both men are still fresh and able to land, the telling shot. So, nah, I think if Tyson can stay focused for the full 12 rounds, he gives himself a great chance.
And it might sound like a strange question because Usyk won, but is there anything that Usyk needs to do differently heading into the rematch?
Usyk does everything pretty well. Um, I think Usyk's pressure is what's really key to success. If you look at his movement, his lateral movement, he's always working that lead hand. He's always feinting. He's always setting up shots, and he never really makes the same mistake twice. He's a tricky customer. So, I don't really think he has to do anything different. He just needs to do what he does every time he goes into the ring. But listen, when two really great fighters, both arguably the greatest fighters of their generation, meet, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. So when you're watching high IQ boxing, there's never much in it. It's just one or two shots. So it's that one shot or that one round that just swings in somebody's favour.
With Usyk, I've said this before, and it's almost like he's playing with a Rubik's cube. He waits a few rounds, and then mid to late rounds, he sort of completes it and sort of clocks onto what his opponent is doing, and he then sort of goes, right, okay, now this is how I do it. And then he almost, like you say, seems to go into sort of cruise control from the mid to late rounds, and that's where he wins the majority of his fights. Do you think Tyson's got to go into this fight with a plan A, plan B, plan C, just to change it up to keep Usyk thinking? Is that the best way to beat Usyk?
Do you know what? I think I was chatting to one of my mates about this earlier. Not this particular fight, but we were talking about another fight, and we were saying, you know what all these top fighters are going to do. It's just, can you stop them doing it? They're not hard to work out. They're just very good at doing what they do. So no, I don't think Tyson has. Like I said, I genuinely believe that if he just stayed a little bit more focused for the first 6 to 7, 8 rounds, he doesn't get caught with that shot. And the last 4 rounds are completely different from what we've seen in the first fight. So I think it genuinely at the high end of any sport, it's decision making. It's not skill level, it's not fitness, it's not strength. It's making decisions under pressure. And if he can do that for the 12 rounds, I think that'll be the key difference. So whoever can do that for the 12 rounds is going to be the guy that can probably get the win.
But Tyson, could the loss be a blessing in disguise? Because potentially he wasn't focused for the full 12 rounds because he's found it so easy throughout his career so far. Only really Deontay Wilder's challenged him. Honestly, he got back up from what he threw. So again, he potentially didn't feel like Deontay could really do anything to him because he got up from his best shot. Do you potentially think that that's why he maybe lost a little bit of focus because he was winning the first half of that fight, and again, he may have thought it's just another win in the bag here.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think success can sometimes breed a little bit of complacency. So I don't know, maybe there is an element of that where he's not used to being in that position before. But Tyson's been dropped before in fights, like you said, in the Wilder fight and a couple of other times before that. So he has been under pressure in certain fights, but I suppose he's never been under the pressure that Usyk put him under. So listen, I think maybe, like you said, they're two great fighters. The loss in Tyson in the first one will hurt him, and I think he'll be coming into this fight a lot more focused on what he needs to do. And now that he's been in that position, it's not going to be as much a shock to the system the next time he's in the ring with him. So I'm confident that Tyson can get the win. Obviously, I'm going to back Tyson. I think Usyk's a great fighter. I've got a hell of an amount of respect for him. I think he's a great fighter. I'm a fan of Usyk, but obviously I'm going to be backing Tyson in this. So I'm hoping that he can take what he learned in the first fight and put it into practice in this second fight. And listen, I know a lot was said about his corner, but I think he's got a great corner. He's got probably two of the best coaches in the world, and Sugar Hill and Delaney's corner. So I think in terms of boxing IQ in the corner, you can't really get much better than that. So I really fancy him getting the job done this time.
Mentioned at the start of the interview that you'd done a few rounds with Tyson. Just talk to me about when you shared the ring with him. Was you blown away a little bit? Was there anyone else that you've ever sort of been in with that you could compare him to?
Do you know the biggest thing for me with Tyson? It wasn't so much like, oh, listen, he's got every shot in the book, he's got every style in the book. It's his ability to switch between being a pressure fighter, being a counter puncher, boxing on the front foot, boxing on the back foot, boxing southpaw, boxing orthodox. Like he had three or four different sparring partners, and when I was sparring him, and every sparring partner he fought differently. So having you talk about guys being able to do that between fights, but being able to do that in between rounds is something else. So he's just he's a super talented boxer. Do you know what I mean? And he's got the personality and the attitude to match it, which I think you need. So I said, but yeah, you're probably right. I was pretty blown away by his ability and also his versatility in the ring and what he was able to do in between from round to round.
And you mentioned Andy Lee. I've seen you've done some work with him recently on your social medias. So you've got a little bit of an insight into how he is coached as well. Maybe not sort of directly, but knowing Andy Lee as a coach. What's Andy like? You mentioned his IQ earlier. Just how good is he of a coach?
Oh, listen, I think Andy's world class. I think you only need to look at the job he's done with Joe Parker. He's taken Joe from the defeat with Joe Joyce to then not a convincing fight with Jack Massey to what he is now, going into a fight with Daniel Dubois for the IBF World Title. And you'd have to say both of them have done unbelievably in their last couple of fights. So it's a real 50-50 fight. And wouldn't surprise me if Joe went and got the job done. I actually favour Joe in the fight. So yeah, listen, Andy's a world class coach, but it's his calmness in there for me. Being involved in a couple of different sparring sessions and stuff like that. And it's just clear, concise information. Obviously the adjustments that he makes with you while you're on the pads and stuff like that. But it's all stuff that's works and it's relevant to fighting. So just having that ability, like having the ability to take what you've done in pad work and bag work, sparring into the fight, I think is probably the biggest thing that Andy brings to the table, and the clear, concise information you get in the corner. And listen, he's been there and done it as well at the top level. He's a former world champion himself, so what he says you're going to listen to because he's been there and done it.
Does it always help when you know the coach has been there at the highest level?
Listen, not necessarily because there's other boxing coaches who've never, and they turn out to be some of the best coaches of all time. So yeah, not necessarily, but I think with somebody like Andy, it does because he just gets respect from what he's been and done. So yeah, definitely. In Andy's case, I think it does help. That it's a guy who's been in some of the tough spots you can get in a fight, and he definitely has the knowledge on how to help you get out of them. So no, definitely a world class coach.
Absolutely.